Hi, I'm Ali. Um, I'm going to present my paper titled Potential Cyber Attack Against Global Oil Supply Chain. As the world is becoming global, the supply chains are also becoming global in order to utilize the optimal resources. And as they are becoming global, the information sharing between these parties involved is also becoming very important. It's very important that you have timely and accurate information sharing. But when we start sharing the information in between the associates, the risks, as you know, are also manifold, because these supply chains at point become so complex that even it's difficult to assess the risks, let it be alone to mitigate them. So they become so much complex. The biggest problem with the supply chain is that any cyber attack on one party gets a ripple effect across the supply chain, because when one party gets an attack, it has effect on so many other associates that are involved in the supply chain. So that's why it becomes the threats that are involved increase manifold. As we're talking about the high level of information sharing that is required, the leakage, the chances of leakage, it becomes more, and the most important thing that you conduct in the literature survey, you come to know that the parties that are involved in the supply chain, they fear to even share the information because of the threats, or because of the fear that if the information gets leaked, the business secrets might become open to different parties. And the security has become a major concern in global markets, so it is the need of the hour to identify, assess, and mitigate the loopholes that aid cyber attacks. And when we are talking about the energy sector, especially the utility sector, there are billions of users that are connected with this network. So when you talk about the cyber threats in this sector, the chances of threats become even more. Talking about the cyber attacks against the oil supply chain, they are huge. I mean, because there are lots of financial that those are involved. Mainly, if you talk about you bifurcate them into two broader categories: cyber espionage, that is the stealing of the information, and then the most important one is disruption of critical business or physical operations by attacks on network. As we are talking about the global supply chains and talking about the connections and talking about the information sharing, they are becoming more technology dependent. But when they become more technology dependent, the chances of these technologies getting leaked, or the technology becoming vulnerable, becomes even more. So the threats that can be involved are environmental damages, leakage of confidential information, data corruption in geological surveys, power outrage for long periods, and etc. Talking about the quantum of attacks, or the quantum of losses that are involved, different companies have collectively lost approximately $600 billion in intellectual property theft. And globally, more than 50% of cyber attacks on critical infrastructure resources in 2012 were targeted at energy sector. So 50% of the cyber attacks in 2012 were related to this oil sector. Actually, what we did in this paper was we identified the areas that are involved in the oil supply chain, and actually this picture is not that clear over here. And what we did was in all those areas we identified the potential attacks that can happen, and we gave the countermeasures. We suggested some countermeasures. So I haven't chosen all of them. So first, a couple of examples here, like exploration facility, where the exploration is being done. So the potential cyber attacks could be the information leakage, social engineering, inference attack, malicious insiders, So the countermeasures that we have suggested are suitable access control policy, periodical facility monitoring, security training of employees on information sharing, etc. Same goes for production facilities. So the potential cyber attacks, the threats could be infiltration through infected device, confidentiality, breach of critical information such as power usage, and then you can the countermeasures could be internal network should be separated from internet, no remote flash or hard drives in or out of facility. So these are the things that we have suggested. In information and communication management, that is the most important area. So the potential cyber threats could be the data management, protection of IP, spear phishing, that is related to the emails, default passwords, loss of falsification of different kinds of logs. So the countermeasures that we have suggested are conduct cyber threat analysis, regular information audits, data loss prevention technologies, and etc. Crisis management and disaster recovery. So the threats related to this portion could be inappropriate business continuity plan, irresponsive incident management, absence of data loss prevention, detection and recovery techniques. So the countermeasures that we have suggested are penetration testing, periodic risk assessment, incident response team, regular information audits, etc. Future research directions, we are working on a framework so that this framework could be used in the global oil supply chain, and this framework can help the bigger companies to actually implement all those things, the countermeasures that we were talking about. And what they can do is they can it can help this framework can help these bigger oil supply chain companies to actually reduce the cyber attacks. Conclusion: energy sector is considered to be most nourishing for attackers because all sort of attackers you'll find in our here. Because there are so many exposure points, the attack can be done anywhere. Even if one part of your the supply chain is vulnerable, it will have a ripple effect on all the associate members that are available. So it is very necessary to access and analyze cyber vulnerabilities at every stop of supply chain because of its ripple effect. If they are properly identified, then they can be suitably dealt with. Thank you very much.